who's going to present the from their computer, or do we need to do that, Frank? You're going to present? Okay, good. Perfect.
We're
All right,
live.
do we have a
We're
quorum?
live. I counted 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we're good.
All right, is Irfin on and Lizzie?
I see Lizzie and Irfin, yes.
Okay. In line with that, all right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the Bogota Board of Education Work Session Action Meeting, Virtual Meeting, March 9th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with provisions of this act, the Bogota Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in Bogota Borough Hall, communicated by letter to the record, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Bogota, and posted on the Bogota Board of Education website. Irfin, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Alvarez? Absent, I believe. Mrs. Coles?
She won't be attending.
Absent. Mrs. Lewis?
Here.
Mr. Miranda?
Here.
Ms. Montgomery?
Here.
Mr. Ortega?
Present.
Ms. Brackett?
Present.
Mr. Chavez?
Present.
Mrs. Van
Present.
we have the quorum.
Thank you. Also present, Mr. President. Also present, Mr. Kennedy, Superintendent, Nathaniel Simon, Board Attorney, Elsie Luca, Student Congress Representative, Mr. Efsel, Business Administrator and Board Secretary, and Elizabeth Ruiz, Assistant Board Secretary. All right, if we could move on to hearing of citizens on agenda items only, and please, I'd like to stress that it is only on agenda items at this time. Also, just to be consistent with our public speaking guests and citizens, if you type something in the chat, please include your name and address just as you would if you were speaking publicly. Thank you. All right, may I have a motion to open for citizens' remarks on agenda items only?
Miranda.
Thank you. Second?
Ortega.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Kennedy, would you like to?
Let me just do,
I lost you.
I'm here.
Oh,
Can you
there I
hear
go.
me?
Okay. Yes.
I don't see anyone's hand up right now.
No, neither do I. All righty. With no comments coming forward, may I have a motion to close, please?
Motion.
Miranda.
Thank you, BC. Second?
Miranda.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Okay, thank you. Mr. Kennedy, if I can turn it over to you, please.
Yes, so just a couple of things and then we're going to have a presentation, but I just want to congratulate our winter sports teams. Boys and girls high school basketball and high school bowling, and our middle school boys and girls basketball got through their season. We were very fortunate that at no time in Bogota did we have to shut down any of the teams for any COVID-related instances. They lost a game or two because some other schools had to close, but all in all, it was. I attended a couple of games, and the kids seemed very happy to be playing. And most importantly, they got through the season safely, which was very important. We have now moved on into, this is something completely new this year, is this third season in between winter and spring. Right now, girls volleyball and middle school volleyball and high school wrestling have started last week. And they are set to have 2 weeks of practices and then have some games and matches of their own. So good luck to them and the coaches. Tomorrow will be the first day in elementary school, our K-6 buildings, that we will have students in the building. Up until this point, Wednesdays has been virtual, but after seeing our numbers, consulting with the health department at Bergen Regional, they felt that it was safe to have a cohort come in on Wednesdays moving forward. So right now, for the next 4 weeks, cohort 1 and cohort 2 will be alternating on Wednesdays. So students will be getting 3 days of in-person 1 week and then 2 the next. And then after we get through this, we're going to look to see about combining our cohorts into 5 full days. Again, we're still waiting on some guidance on numbers. They've been pretty adamant about that 6-foot rule in the classroom in Bergen County. But supposedly there's some new guidance going to be coming out from the DOE that's going to give us some more information on how to handle that. Also, it was announced that teachers are now eligible to get vaccinated. Supposedly in Bergen County, I saw an email today, we're waiting for more information that they're going to try and set up a site for or educators in Bergen County to do that on the weekend. But we're still waiting for more information from the county on that. But there was an initial email that went out today. So I know a lot of teachers have started getting it. A lot of educators have started getting it. So we're doing our best to get that word out to them. We've had a couple of teachers come back into the building that were out for medical reasons that have been vaccinated. So we are getting closer to the end of this. It's still important that everyone remains safe and does what they're supposed to do. But, you know, we're talking about a year now already. Today's March 12th, 9th. I believe it was like the 13th or 14th that we closed school. So it's been a whole year. And it's, you know, today, it felt nice to be outside and walk around a little bit, and you just put a smile on people's faces because to be outside and hopefully the end is near. Next, we're going to have a presentation from Solutions Architect and Honeywell. Solution Architect is our architect of the record, and we've done a lot of work with them over the years. And Honeywell is going to be doing our ESIP project. So what I wanted tonight is Solutions to give us a little background information and then explain what the ESIP project is, and then we'll go from there. So Frank, you're up.
I just need the ability to share my screen.
Frank, you're doing that for him? Calero?
Yep, you should have her now.
Perfect. All right, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. So the whole point of tonight's presentation is to talk to you about what the district has wanted to do and the plans for it and why, and quite frankly, how long it's taken us to get here. This is it's not something that anybody's kind of put together overnight. This is a process that's taken some time, and it started out with basic goals. Basic goals such as to improve the operation and ventilation efficiency throughout the district, help and improve the lighting levels, address urgent mechanical controls and repairs so that it wouldn't affect taxpayers. And in the mindset of any potential referendum, the idea here was that whatever projects could be done out of the ESIP, they would in fact reduce what overall burden might be on a potential referendum that might come out.
Frank, just so you're aware, we can't see the presentation right now. We just see your screen, which shows all the presentations in a folder.
You can't see the presentation?
No, we just see the folder where you have it.
Okay,
There,
let me
I see it
find out
now.
why.
There it is.
Now
You're
you
good
can see it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I just kind of went through this goals slide, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how we got here. So as I said before, this process is now being March, 2 years old. The district started this process in March of 2019 when they submitted their application to the Board of Public Utilities for a local government energy audit. These were audits that were run by the BPU, that were free to any district, any public entities that wanted to go after them. And the district signed up, and in March of 2019, and between March and July of 2019, this audit was conducted by an approved company of the BPU. And they went through each building, evaluated the mechanical systems, the electrical systems, and they suggested a variety of energy savings measures. They completed a draft report in July, and after review, an exit meeting was held in September. And this meeting talked about the potential value in being able to do energy savings projects through the government program, or the BPU's program, which was direct install. So after reviewing the final reports and looking at the next steps, the district was introduced to Lime Energy, who was the direct install partner contractor for the BPU. Simultaneously, the district commissioned solutions architecture to go through each of the district buildings and conduct a district-wide facilities audit. We evaluated the facilities against health and safety, mechanical, code compliance, and a number of other criteria, and provided an overall big picture of the health of the district's facilities. So during that same time, Lime Energy came in. They are the direct install contractor, and they reviewed the LGEA audit findings. And then from November to December of 2019, Lime Energy conducted a number of visits on their own, conducted their own audit and report, and they basically put together for a proposal for lighting replacements and HVAC unit replacement under this direct install program. They came up with a project size of about $182,000, and they estimated annual energy savings on that project of about $42,000. So the direct install program is limited in certain schools, the size of the buildings, to replace lighting and HVAC units less than 10 tons. But if you do the direct install program, they will pay for 80% of all eligible costs. So it's a good program. But at that time, in concert with the facilities audit and in reviewing the final facilities audit, which was the physical analysis of the buildings was done over the summer of 2019. In the fall of 2019, we prepared the reports and budget estimates. And in January, that audit was reviewed with the district. At the time, we felt that instead of just doing those smaller projects with the direct install program, that we should look at an overall big picture and provide an energy savings improvement plan, which affords the district the ability to fund mechanical, electrical, and lighting improvements over a period of 15 years by using the savings garnered for such a plan to pay for that funding. So from March to July, we prepared with the district a request for proposal to energy savings companies to come in and evaluate the mechanical and electrical infrastructure and propose energy savings measures for the proposed savings to the district. We received a number of RFPs from a number of ESCO companies who submitted response. They were reviewed, ranked, and interviewed at the end of June. And in July, Honeywell was selected to come in and conduct an investment grade energy audit. They were the approved ESCO to do the work. And Joe Kasha is on the phone, and I know Amy Alonso is on as well. And they're going to share in a lot of the pieces of this presentation. So from July 2020 to November 2020, Honeywell conducted its own investment grade audit to the district and presented their findings and a scope listing of all energy savings measures that could be entertained. Over the next few months, the district and Honeywell Solutions Architecture have been going back and forth and evaluating those energy control measures to determine what would best provide the district with the most beneficial plan. That final plan was submitted to the BPU for review and approval. And in December of 2020, the BPU reviewed the submitted energy savings improvement plan and concurred that it was sound and met all of the necessary criteria rendered its approval. So the facilities health check, just to go back a little bit, this facilities audit, over the summer of 2019, we conducted these visits to the 3 schools. We went through all the buildings and we put together a facilities audit plan. At the time that we did this report, a number of the concerns had to do with ADA compliance, outdated program spaces, safety and security, boilers, MEP infrastructure, lighting upgrades. So all of these things were of concern to the district. Even at Bixby and Steen, the same kinds of concerns were there. MEP infrastructure, sealing the exterior envelope, safety and security, boilers, windows, toilets. Anything you see with a C next to it has already been completed by the district in their proactive manner to try and get things done. But there's still a lot that needs to be done. And therefore, we wanted to try and do as much under an ESIP program as possible. So Joe's going to talk a little bit about exactly what an energy savings improvement plan is.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Let me start there. So thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you this evening. We truly appreciate it. As Frank said, my name is Joe Kasha. I'm the lead for Honeywell in terms of coordinating the ESIP process itself. Amy, I'm going to just ask you to raise your hand and just wave to everybody. Amy is our engineer, our solutions development engineer. So her with another gentleman by the name of Paul Peters helped develop all of the items that we identified within the project itself. And Wyatt, if you'll just raise your hand, who you are there. That's Wyatt. Wyatt is our project manager. So what we do from the beginning on these projects is we want to make sure that they can be achieved and they can be accomplished. And so everyone's involved pretty much from the get-go. Frank, would you go to the next slide, please? Okay. So I've been with Honeywell 32 years, and in all my experience, the best way to describe the ESIP program in itself is with a pie chart. I'm a visual guy. And so if you consider that the pie on the left is your existing operating budget, that's your electricity, your mechanical repairs, your boiler repairs, things that break down and that Irfan has to take from that budget itself, the overall costs to running the buildings. That's your existing budget. On the right side, the way the ESIP program works is that we identify projects that have savings associated with that, whether it's energy savings or operational savings. We structure this financially so that the project has to be paid, and this is part of the ESIP law, the project has to be paid for itself on an annual basis out of the existing operating budget. So you cannot, or you do not, go to your taxpayers for additional funds to pay for programs like this one. And the advantage of an ESIP project is that, as Frank mentioned earlier on, is that you looked at the direct install program. Well, if you had done the direct install program alone, those savings, any additional savings associated with that project could not be funneled back into doing some of the work we're going to describe for you here. And the best, why don't you change slides, Frank? This kind of reviews, we're going to get to the actual projects themselves, but Frank already mentioned this as well. So you guys started this in early 2019. And as you can see through this process, this is prescribed and is detailed as the process that's required to be followed by the Board of Public Utilities. And although Frank did mention that the Board of Public Utilities did approve the energy savings plan, one thing that is missing is item number 5 there, is that there was also, you as a school district hired a third-party engineering firm, an independent engineering firm, to verify that plan as well. And so what they had to do is they had to write off or sign off on the fact that the plan is meeting the goals of the program. It is self-funding. It provides there's no need for capital expenditures from the taxpayer base. and that the project can be implemented and achieve those savings. So obviously the stage we're at right now is really contracting and financing. We went through with Damien and Irfan and Nick and your architect, multiple levels of identifying the solutions that best meet the needs of your district. We would love to do it all, but with the understanding that your goals at the outset of this project is basically to improve the operational efficiency, specifically as things change, ventilation efficiency within the district itself from a COVID standpoint, and make sure that you have mechanical and controls repairs to improve the comfort within the buildings. And also one of the goals we understood it to be was to reduce the potential referendum that you're looking to pass and try to reduce that impact on the taxpayer base as well. And so the included projects here, if you move one more slide, there you go, Frank, thank you. What we were able to identify and what I meant earlier about the lighting. So lighting has a good payback. It's there, but if you had done it under the direct install program, pretty much that and maybe one or two air conditioning units, for lack of a better description, would have been replaced. But what the ESIP program does for you is it takes those lighting savings and pays for the boiler replacements that are required at the high school. Right now, the high school boilers are in pretty much disrepair, and they're on their last leg in terms of being functional within the school before you have a major problem with those boilers. It also includes a building management or building controls system upgrade, and that is geared towards comfort levels within the buildings and within the district, giving your facilities department the ability to manage the buildings and react quicker to certain instances in the buildings, and know about the problems associated with those buildings in advance before it gets too late. One of the keys that we were able to identify here, and I'm going to let Frank share about the power purchase agreement, but one of the keys was that we are going to be able to replace all, am I correct in saying that, Amy? We're basically going to be replacing all the classroom unit ventilators in the high school. And we're going to be converting them into what we call a tighter control system, a direct digital control system, as opposed to a pneumatic system. The whole purpose of the unit ventilator replacement is geared towards ventilation, increasing airflow throughout the classrooms in terms of better standards from when the building was originally built. Back then, there was only a certain amount of CFM, cubic feet per minute, that had to go through the classroom. These new unit ventilators will provide more airflow through the buildings, through the classrooms themselves. Along with that, there's some HVAC replacements and split system replacements. And part of the ESIP program allows us to we cannot include the solar power purchase agreement as part of our solution, but we are allowed to take the savings associated with the power purchase agreement that Frank and his team conducted on outside of the ESIP program. So what you see in the overall savings is a combination of the energy savings that we've identified with these ECMs, solar power purchase agreement savings that you've already selected a provider for, and operational savings or repairs or breakdowns that, because you're going to have new equipment, they're not going to break down for years. We only carry those savings for 5 years, but the rest of the savings go for the term of the agreement. Go ahead, Frank.
So,
And I'm not, yeah, you're going to talk about this.
yeah, so what we wanted to do is try to show graphically, and obviously we can provide you a copy with this so that you can review it on your own, but we wanted to show graphically where in the buildings we were doing this work and what was happening. So, LED lighting upgrades, anything that you see in yellow is where we're doing LED lighting upgrades. Unit ventilators, you can see all of the classrooms that have the little maroon or magenta box in them. Those are all the areas where unit ventilators are being replaced. New boilers, the orange 3 boilers are on the lower part of that screen. They're showing where the boilers are being replaced. In that lower mechanical area, we are doing a number of pipe wrap and insulation on the piping fixtures to make sure that those are efficient and they're not losing heat before they get to where they need to go. Also on the list on the right-hand side, this is throughout the building, so it's more difficult to show graphically, but we're doing unit ventilator replacements, as Joe said, 35 of them at the high school. We're doing steam trap replacements throughout the building. There's a number of them, over 170. We're doing the new building management system, which is going to provide you with greater control and better efficiency throughout the building, and then low flow domestic hot water devices as well throughout the building. At Bixby,
Hey, if I
similar.
could, Frank, if I could just jump in,
Yeah.
go back one, if you don't mind. So what you see in yellow, Frank referred to as the LED lighting retrofit. It's important to note that every classroom is getting retrofit with LED lighting. What you see in yellow are going to be new fixtures associated with the district itself. If you've been down some of the hallways, they're a little dingy. We wanted to fix that, and that was one of the requirements of your administration. And so what we did is we made sure that there's going to be new fixtures in those areas and not just a replacement of old bulbs and putting in new ones to convert it to LED. We just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that we were doing the entire building from a lighting standpoint.
Good point, Joe. So Bixby, again, a similar system, so again, and to Joe's point, in this facility, we are doing lighting retrofit throughout the building, and including the multipurpose room. We are doing new heating and hot water pumps in the boiler rooms. We're doing new split systems throughout the building, and then a new rooftop unit, a 10-ton rooftop unit replacement will be done. Motors and variable frequency drives. There's 2 of those that are going to be replaced. There's 25 unit ventilators in this building that will be refurbished. They'll be, opened up and given new parts and new filters and taken care of. We're doing the same piping insulation and wrap. This building is also getting a building management system. And then we're also doing the low flow domestic hot water devices here too. And at Lillian Steen, again, similar scope. It's similar throughout. Every school gets a similar amount. So lighting fixture retrofits throughout the school. The split system replacements, the motors and variable frequency drives, unit ventilators in this building will be 28. Piping insulation and wrap and building management system as well. And again, those low flow domestic hot water devices. And then the 2 other buildings that aren't educational, the board office and the field house, are also going to benefit from lighting retrofits to LED lighting in those buildings as well.
So overall, what we're looking at, and this is going to be the first opportunity to utilize the Esser funds, and we've talked about it with your financial advisor, and I think your fund may have some more updates on that than I do. But overall, the value of the project is $2.5 million. You're going to receive an instant rebate from the Clean Energy Program of $158,000. So the overall contracted price with Honeywell is 2.3. The Esser Grant itself, those are the funds that just came out under Esser 2, under the federal program. They came out on December 27th, and your district has been notified of these funds being available. Solutions architect and engineer are there to make sure that the design that we put in meets the requirements of the school district. And so their fee is covered under the savings as well. The issuance fees refer to your bond counsel and your financial advisor in order to ensure that the lease purchase is set up in a way that's satisfactory to you as a school district and in accordance with the law. So overall, the cost of the project is $1.6 million. However, because it gets structured under the ESIP law, over the savings over that term is $2 million. That $2 million includes paying for the interest associated with the lease purchase. And it is structured so that each year has to have a positive cash flow for the school district. And at a 2% interest rate, currently the annual positive cash flow is approximately $9,000 positive. And part of this solution is that Honeywell is guaranteeing the savings. And that means that if we miss the savings at the end of a year, we have to write a check to the school district for the difference. And that's going to be written in our language for the entire project. And overall, from an environmental stewardship standpoint, this is actually one of the requirements of the ESIP program. We have to identify how green the district is becoming. And so what we've looked at here is that this project, easiest way to do it is automobiles removed from the road, about 111, and planted trees and acreage is 497 acres of trees in accordance with the tools that are set up by the ESIP program to calculate those kinds of statistics and facts. And I'm going to let Frank share on the PPA.
I just want to take a few minutes and talk a little bit about the solar PPA program, and the district simultaneously to doing this went out with a solar PPA RFP. So under the solar program, there's private entities out there that can take advantage of state offered tax incentives and solar renewable energy credits for their companies. As a public school district, you can't take advantage of the tax credit or the SRECs themselves. But what you can do is allow these companies who want to come in and essentially lease your roofs to install solar and solar panels. They will reap the benefits of the tax credits and the SRECs. However, what they in turn do for you is allow you to get a fixed energy savings over a period of 15 years. In return, based on the program and the RFP that we put out, the district receives a fixed electrical rate of about 0.029 cents per kilowatt hour. At present, the district is paying approximately 11 cents per kilowatt hour. So it's a significant savings that results in about $800,000, $818,000 in savings over the 15 years. There is no upfront cost to the district, including the professional services, which are included within the RFP. So the solar provider who's coming in to do this pays for all the upfront costs to prepare the RFP, put it together, walk through, construction services, all of that. So there's no upfront cost to the district. And at the end of the day, you're going to be saving about $818,000 in energy costs. It must be noted that this is independent, as Joe said before, of the ESIP plan, and that the only crossover is that the ESIP plan does take the savings to be able to add additional projects to the ESIP. So what's next at this point? And from our standpoint, from the PPA program, what's next is to get a kickoff meeting with the solar company, start to prepare the design and engineering of the solar system, do their evaluation on the roofs, us to look at the roofing systems that need to be replaced prior to solar being installed, and then get the solar system installed at the facilities. And from an ESIP standpoint, Joe can talk a little bit about the next steps as to where we are, but it's definitely beginning to do the design and the engineering of the project.
Yeah, so from an ESIP standpoint, I believe the next step would be to do a couple of things via a resolution from the school board. And that is, one is to adopt the energy savings plan in accordance with the ESIP law, to authorize a not to exceed agreement with Honeywell and Solutions Architect to change your long range facilities plan, to file with the DOE and so on. And then also to go out to public bid for a financial partner. Interest rates are still low. I saw a spreadsheet today from your financial advisor issuing a cash flow based on a 2.25% interest rate. But I will tell you that the last project that we had financed in December did receive an interest rate of 1.7%. But it's always better to be on the conservative side when we issue the cash flow analysis. This way, if the interest rates come in better, the district gets additional cash flow. What kind of questions can I answer? And Irfan, did I cover everything that?
Yeah, it was covered everything. Actually, we have an action item tonight in the resolution. Once it is adopted, we can continue to go to financing and all the contractual and design and all those steps to have this project alive over the summer and the next school year.
What kind of questions can Frank and I answer for the board?
I have one. I always have one.
Please. That's okay. That's good.
Frank, you're laughing. I've already had several. If I can just, do you have the copy of what we have on here? There's a section 7. In regard to the board hereby covenants that it will comply with all the conditions. It said, in order to preserve the exemption from taxation of interest on the lease, including, if necessary, the requirement.
I'm not sure I have what you're looking at.
Ms. Member, and that one
Yes.
was prepared with our bond counsel. So it is to cover us with the IRS requirements, that section. So that is reviewed and submitted by her. So we should be okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that one confuses me a little bit because it looks like you have to rebate all the savings. Okay, moving on from there. Irfan, does that also apply to the end of section 8? The last sentence? About no more than 3 years after it's paid? That's the bond counsel?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm good.
But
Anyone
those
else?
are easy questions for me then.
Getting off easy.
Anyone else have any questions for the gentleman? No?
There is one question in the question and answer by Mr. Connors.
Okay.
111 Gray Street. Are all 3 school roofs being used? How many solar panels are we talking about? Have any studies been done to study environmental outcomes for the community and the children inside the schools? When will this work be done?
Irfan, I had a very difficult time hearing you. I'm sorry if that, I understood the question to be about solar, but I really couldn't hear the question. I apologize.
There are several
Frank,
of
just
them.
hit the Q&A button on the bottom and it'll pop up and you'll see.
I got it. Okay. Okay, so I can just answer?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So all of the schools will be included in the solar analysis and the solar installation. In terms of environmental outcomes, the solar vendors will need to do a number of studies prior to installing solar on the buildings. Obviously, one is structural. They need to make sure that the buildings are capable of handling the additional weight of the structural panels. And then insofar as environmental outcomes, they obviously have to follow all code requirements associated with installing the panels. They are submitting the solar panels themselves to us and our engineer for review. Our engineers will review them for compliance with industry standards and things that need to be done from that particular standpoint. But all of that stuff has to be done before they get approval to put these on the roofs. And this work is going to be planned to be done, obviously, over summer periods. And it's unsure whether we're going to, it's going to happen this first summer. But we are definitely in the process of looking at what needs to be done for that. We'll know more after our first scheduled meeting, kickoff meeting, to get this project going.
Question, if I may, Amanda.
Yes, Amanda.
this program, would it enable us to be eligible for a LEED certification when we go for the referendum and we put on these things, or for O&M or in some type of form? And if we are, how would it benefit us, or is it worth it?
So, I mean, I'll answer it from the referendum perspective and from an existing building perspective, and then maybe Joe can talk a little bit more as it relates to the ESIP itself. But it's very difficult to get LEED certification on existing buildings like yours. On additions and those things, what we are going to do is we're going to provide LEED accredited principles, included in the projects that we design. However, it's very difficult to get that certification. It's not saying that it can't be done, but oftentimes with existing buildings, the cost to obtain certification far exceeds what the savings might be. So whatever we do as far as buildings in the future and referendum, we're going to do with those principles in mind. Everything that you're doing here under the ESIP program is, part of creating greater energy efficiency, eliminating the waste within the buildings, and doing what you need to from that perspective. So rest assured that in spite or in the absence of the actual certification itself, what we're doing here is, creating a better environment within the districts, environmentally, et cetera.
Yeah, I would agree with Frank on that entirely. So
I have a question. The ventilation systems that are being put in the individual classrooms, are those filtration? So are they filtered systems? And if they are those filters that will be used, are we taking COVID in mind with whatever filtration systems we're using?
yeah, so what you're referring to, I believe, is probably the MERV 13 filters, and currently mechanical equipment is not geared towards MERV 13 equipment. And when you put the types of equipment that is available in a classroom are unit ventilators. Currently, you have older unit ventilators that only allow a certain amount of fresh air in the building. And so the filtration is filtering fresh air as it comes through the building. It does recirculate, and Amy, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it does recirculate back from the classroom. But currently, there's nothing available in a unit ventilator that offers the MERV 13 filter. And the easiest way to explain it is this. MERV 13, and I'm not going to know the exact sizes, but MERV filter is kind of thick, right? And in order to push air through that filter, you need a bigger fan motor to push the air through. I know it gets a lot of play in the news and in a lot of different areas in terms of that being the best solution in the buildings. But in reality, it's not available yet. You can do it on those bigger systems, but in individual classrooms, it's very difficult to do. The goal here from a ventilation standpoint is to make sure you have older buildings, or older unit ventilators. Some dampers aren't opening. No fresh air is coming into the classroom. What this is going to do is allow you not only through the new unit ventilator, but through the control system that's going to be applied to this unit ventilator, you'll be able to open the damper to a point where you can understand what the fresh air is coming into the classroom. That's the best way it helps.
And if I could just jump on that for 1 second, one of the things that, both the CDC, DOE, and ASHRAE, who is the, American Society of Refrigeration, Heating and Refrigeration Engineers, they put a greater emphasis on ventilation than they do filtration. And part of the reason is that they want to see airflow in the rooms. They want to move the air around. You have the ability to open windows in certain locations, but filtration is good. But again, their emphasis is on ventilation. And to Joe's point, by replacing all the unit ventilators, by replacing the 10-ton rooftop units, by putting in new split systems, we're going to increase ventilation in the rooms, which is going to benefit in this whole COVID scenario.
Did you see the question? Well, we just explained the filters, but we did ask about cooling in the ventilators, but I thought that, correct me if I'm wrong, the price was way too high to be able to do that.
There's two issues that come into play with cooling. We looked at the cooling, and contrary to the ESIP program, the idea is to do projects that save energy. And we have added cooling in certain situations in the past, but that means you had enough savings elsewhere to pay for it, because no matter how you look at it, when you add cooling to a building, it's obviously going to cost you more money to cool the building. So that, combined with the cost associated with it, Damien is correct, it just didn't meet the criteria of the ESIP program and didn't fit within the cash flow of the program.
Someone has their hand raised.
I see. Is there a service agreement that comes with the program? Is that the one?
You can answer that too, yeah.
Sure. Under the ESIP law, we're not allowed to include a service agreement as part of the solution. However, the school district, once the project is implemented and installed, has the ability to, not just Honeywell, but has the ability to solicit, and we can help you do that, solicit service agreements to maintain the newer systems that are in there. You guys are pretty good though, because remember we did a full review of your existing operation costs, Irfan, and you guys have some pretty good maintenance programs in place now anyway. If anything, they'll get a little bit better because they'll get a little bit more cost effective because you're going to have newer equipment to maintain. So.
All right, I see Carmel has her hand up. Carmel.
Hi, yes, Carmel Burney, 162 East Portland Road. My question was on the service agreements, particularly for the BMS system, because they are quite costly over time. Has that been factored into the budgets long-term with this project?
So as I stated earlier, this is going to be an automated logic control system, BMS system. And currently the school district already has a service agreement lined up with that company, because that is the base system that's within the buildings themselves right now. We're going to be expanding it because they have these older pneumatic systems in the high school. We're taking and they have a service. I don't know the amount of that one off the top of my head, Irfan, but they currently have a service agreement with a company called Siemens for the pneumatic systems. That service agreement can go away because the pneumatics are going to be drastically reduced in the building, and it could easily transfer it over to the direct digital control system. But the budgeting part of it, I have to leave up to the business administrator.
That high school maintenance with the Siemens is over $20,000 annually. So once it just go away, so it will have to use it.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So will all the toilets and all the sinks and faucets and everything will all be replaced? Or I saw that on the slide, but we didn't really talk about it.
Yeah, it's not really new China. We would call that kind of retrofit new China, but it's not really new China. It's mostly low flow water devices, low flow aerators and things like that, just to reduce the consumption of water. And ironically enough, we don't necessarily take a savings associated with that. We only take a savings on what it would cost to heat that water. And so water savings in itself will be an added savings to the district. But it's not new China.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I believe someone has a question about warranty period.
Sure. Well, the standard construction warranties apply to the district, to the project itself. So that would mean, and Honeywell's a little different than a lot of our competition. So let's say, for example, we finish part of the project early. We really don't start the warranty until the entire project is completed. And so we can finish one part of the project within the first 3 months. But the warranty period probably won't start until the end of the 9 months or year that it's going to take to complete this entire project. But it is a standard warranty. It's a 1 year, workmanship and so on. However, for example, with light bulbs, they're warranted for 5 years. And I believe we have attic stock included in this, right, Wyatt? Just shake your head. No, okay. Yeah, so what happens is, once the lighting retrofit is completed, the district gets a stack of light bulbs, and if they fail, they have them there and ready for replacement. And then they return the boxes to us, and then we refill it again. But there's a standard warranty on the lighting that is 5 years. The other stuff, typically on a split system or a rooftop unit, there's a 5-year warranty on the compressors and on the big pieces of equipment. But for the installation, it's pretty much a normal construction warranty, which is about a year from when the job is accepted, not when it's completed, when it's accepted. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And there's one last question from Mike Connors. Have you done any of these big projects in other local towns?
We've done about 36 of these projects in the state of New Jersey, from school districts to county government. We did Parsippany for $15 million. We did Hillsborough for 13, Chatham for 5 million. And one of the bigger ones was Hudson County for 28 million. So we've got, Honeywell is probably the leader in this market in terms of performing these projects.
All right, I think I want to just thank Frank and his team at Solutions and Joseph and his team at Honeywell for presenting this tonight. I just wanted everyone to get a clear understanding of what the ESIP project and the program was, and then to answer any real specific questions. But just want to thank them once again and doing a good job and giving us the information.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for spending the time with us. It was great.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
You too. Take care.
Have a great night.
You too.
Night.
Good night. All righty.
Before we go on, Nathania is gone.
Tanya is gone. My screen is acting up. I can't see everyone.
Well, I see what I think is everyone, and if it is, Nathania is gone.
Yeah, she is. I was having some issues earlier as well, but yeah, she is gone.
I'll check in on her right now.
Okay, great. We'll wait a second for that.
Explain. All right, everyone can hear me. So
Yes.
Nathania's having trouble with her internet, but she called in. So Nathania, let me ask her to unmute, but we're gonna allow her to talk. She can hear everything. She's just not gonna be on the screen. So Nathania, can you talk? I can't hear you. I don't know if she knows how to unmute from a phone. I never did that either. You have to push a button to unmute from a phone?
I have no idea.
Frank, can you unmute her?
We're asking her to unmute, but she has to do it physically, I think.
Oh,
Okay,
she has
sorry,
it.
everyone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry, I lost my internet, but I went out to my car actually so I could hear everything. And so I'm here. Sorry about that.
No problem. All right,
Okay.
we're good. We can continue.
Yes, you can continue with me here. Yes.
All right. So we'll move on to the agenda, onto action items. We have a resolution 39-2101 under finance. May I have a motion, please?
Motion, Amanda.
Amanda, second,
second.
please.
Tego.
Any discussion? This is a work session, but with these items we are taking action tonight. So if anybody has any questions on this one? If not, Irfin, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mr. Ortega,
Yes.
Ms. Rackett,
Yes.
Mr. Chavez,
Yeah.
Mrs. Van Buren.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Moving on to buildings and grounds. These are both rather large, so I'd like to do them separately. First, 39-2102, which is the approval for participation in the Sustainable New Jersey, Jersey for School Certification Program. May I have a motion, please?
So
Miranda.
moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second, Eileen.
Thanks, Eileen. Any discussion? All right, no discussion. Everyone call the roll, please.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mr. Ortega,
Yes.
Ms. Rackett,
Yes.
Mr. Chavez,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Buren.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving on to 39-2103, which is in regard to the lease purchase and the finance for the programs that were just presented. May I have a motion, please?
Motion, Amanda.
Thank you. Second.
Second, Ortega.
Eileen.
Frank, that was you as a second, I think.
That was
I
Ortega.
discuss- oh, that was John.
That
Thank
was
you.
me, John. Yeah.
Thank you, John. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay. Discussion? All right. I did have a couple of questions on this. If I may, if I can refer to what I started to ask earlier in section 7. Irfin, how does that affect us? It says, if necessary, the requirement to rebate all net investment savings, earnings on the gross proceeds above the yield on the lease. What does that mean and how does that affect us? Irfin, I'm sorry. Number 7. Number 7 on page 5, section 7.
It's a technical thing. I mean, for the details, we should ask the bond counsel, but basically what we are saying is we are going to comply with whatever the IRS code 1986 is doing. So
Okay. All righty. And in the paragraph above that, it says that Irfin, you or me as president or Jose as vice president, that we would approve any non-material changes, additions, deletions. Who decides on those? Are those work order changes and do they just come in directly to you and then they're signed? They don't go back to the board? How are those work order changes, if that's what that is? How is that addressed?
So the whole section 6 is about the going out to finance. So this finance includes all the rebates, refunds, or the grants we're going to receive. So the phonics advisors, our financial advisor, and the violence group and our bond counsel will work on that. So when it comes to the signing and we review with them their recommendation, everything is set. It's basically me and as a president, we will sign off all those documents at the end.
Okay, so it would come through with their recommendation that that's what we need to do to comply.
Yeah,
All right.
right. And there are too many moving parts in here, and to comply with all the financial or legal stuff, we will get
Right.
your help first before we move on.
Okay. All righty. Anyone else? Any questions? All righty. Irfan, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mr. Ortega,
Yes.
Ms. Brackett,
Yes.
Mr. Chavez,
Yeah.
Mrs. Van Boom.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the work session. Are there any questions on the minutes, which we'll be voting on now? These things we'll be voting next week. So are there any questions on the minutes from February 9th or the 23rd? If not, if we can move to policy, questions, resolutions 1 through 21. Does anyone have any questions on 1 through 21 in policy? If not, we'll move those to consent. In education, we have 22, 23, and 24. Any questions there?
Yes, please. I have a question.
Yes, Amanda.
The co-op baseball program, how are we doing that with another school with the COVID, and how are they traveling on a bus? Like, are they coming to us? Are we going to them? Could you just give a little bit more detail about that, please?
Yes.
Yeah, so right now, if we had to field our own team, we don't think we have enough students. One, because a lot of them are wrestling. There are a few wrestlers that play baseball and those seasons overlap. I think when the NJSAIA didn't take into account Group 1 schools like ourselves, who our athletes compete in many different sports. So when the sports overlap, it's tough to field teams. Right now, we're just going to use the uniforms that we have. They're going to use the uniforms they have. We play home games. They're going to be like in a pod together, similar to that. So we're going to be splitting games on both fields, but it's the only way to get a season, a varsity season, at the very least. I even spoke to the baseball coach the other day that he didn't have too many returning players. And for example, in wrestling, we were supposed to have 35 kids back. Only 20 came back because about 15 opted out because of COVID. So parents are still opting out their kids. So it's not going to be much of a cost, except maybe a bus ride over to Saddlebrook to play games there when we have to. But it's a shortened season and we're going to split it evenly. So it's not going to be much more of a cost except the travel.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, if we can move 22 through 24 to consent. And personnel, 25 and 26. Any questions?
I have a question. So the approval of the maternity leave, Mr. Kennedy, I know we had, last we talked, we had several open jobs. Are we going to be at risk? Are we okay with, these additional folks not being present?
Well, one person went out early this week and had their baby early. So we're making plans for that. We just paid for a new website to post jobs on. I'm hoping we interviewed someone that was student teaching right now, and it's going to be done at the end of April. We're hoping that's right about time of graduation, that we're recruiting kids in college right now that are going to be able to fill these positions. But we are thinking about it. They are posted. You know, tomorrow I can have 3 applicants. Right now they are not filled. The nurse, we already reached out to Biata because one of them is a school nurse. So we already reached out to Biata to get a nurse replacement, but that's going to be tough as well. So
And also Delta T, the 2 agencies we reached out.
So we're keeping our ear to the ground, and we're doing our best to recruit anyone that we can. And we have some plans in the works if we have to move some aides around or some teachers around to make it work to get through the rest of this year.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, if 25 and 26 can go to consent. Finance, we have 27 through 33. Any questions on finance? No, okay. Moving to committee reports. Is our student Congress rep with us this evening?
I don't see her.
Okay. Alrighty. Eileen, we had just at a finance meeting. Eileen, maybe if you could just give us a little recap on that.
Yeah, we just met before this meeting for a little while to go over some of the budget items that are going to be included. And I think we're going to meet again next week to, I guess, finalize some stuff before it gets sent to the county.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else on committee reports? All right, under old business, I had mentioned the couple of county programs. Damien, do you know if the high school has put in student recommendations for those? I know for the
Yes.
unsung heroes, which is seniors, they have. Great. Okay, because I know
Yes.
that deadline's coming up. Under new business, congratulations to John Sterling. He had a winning season, his 10th of 11 league championships. Great job in Sea Caucus. They said it was a Sterling season, little play on words there, but congratulations to him for that. Anyone else under any new business?
I had a question. Would it be possible, feasible, is it appropriate that we discuss open jobs and we report on those to, where the public can hear it? Like each time that we've met, and I know it's only March, it feels like we've been doing this forever, but each time that we've met, someone's either retiring or they're going out on maternity leaves, and Mr. Kennedy has said several times that there are a number of open jobs. I know I don't remember what that number is, and someone asked me recently, hey, do you guys report on open jobs? So I said I'd ask the question.
So on our website, we have an employment tab that every listing job that's open and available is listed online right now. So you can see any job that will have an opening. It has we use a website, and you click on it and it'll tell you anticipated openings and when the start date is and things of that nature. So yes, that is listed online.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
I think on the new business too, I just want to mention that we started talking, and what we are going to try to do is we are going to try to have some type of play. After talking to a couple of different superintendents, we've come to the conclusion, if we can have sports, why can't we follow the same guidelines and have a play? And if we're allowed to have two tickets per student, but we can also live stream it. So we are going to try and plan on doing something in the high school and let them get that in at least. We did pull back our senior trip to Florida. There's just no rhyme or reason to try to make that work right now. And we are now still looking at how we're going to do prom and graduation. I can't imagine that we're not going to be allowed to have an outdoor graduation if we were last year. Hopefully with more capacity at the field, and hopefully we get beautiful weather and we're able to have a semi-normal type of graduation this year.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, we don't have close this evening, but before we adjourn, I'd just like to say a few words, if I may. First and foremost,
hearing of the public.
excuse me, I'm so sorry. Okay, I was going to do it under new business, but I can, yes, let's do it afterwards. If I could have a motion to open up for citizens'
Miranda.
remarks, please. Thank you, Frank. Second,
Second.
BC, thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And any
Aye.
opposed? All right, thank you. Anyone else? Any comments, citizens' comments? And please remember to include your name and address if you're typing something in the chat. Excuse me, in Q&A.
Can I just put your address on there and your full name, please? To be official.
Yes.
Our head coach will be coaching the team with the other coach because we're so light on players, though, just to answer that question.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? I don't see any others. All right, motion to close citizens' comments.
Miranda.
Thank you. Second.
Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda. All righty. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
No. Okay. I just want to start out. We're a new board. We've only been together for a couple of months now. And I think we've had some rough times together. And I'd like to literally apologize to everyone, to the board. I lost my temper last week in closed session, unnecessary, uncalled for. I apologize. It was wrong. I apologize to the public. We promised you about a half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, and I think we were about an hour and a half. I apologize for that. I did go up the next morning. I apologized to Ms. Ruiz, to Mr. Epsil, to Mr. Kennedy. There are meetings for professional purposes to serve our district and our children. And I think we went a little off base because there's so many things on our table, on the table. And I know we all just want to do the very best. We are all here because we want to do the best. We may not always get along together, but a woman that I know that I have a lot of respect for, explained to me how she sees the Board of Education. And I took it to heart, seriously. She drew me a little picture because she said she's kind of sees things in a visual way, as do I. And I'm going to share my little picture with you. She drew a box. All right. And in the box, it says Board of Ed. You can see I've had this taped on here a little bit. In the box, it says Board of Ed. Then it says the kids in the district. You probably can't see it very well. And outside of that box, there's little lines coming out. The little lines are us, the 9 of us. Outside that box, we're all individuals. We all have energies. We all have dreams. We all have hopes. Once we're in the box, we're the Board of Ed. And the box, our focus in the Board of Ed has to be the students, the children, and our district. And by the district, I mean our staff, our faculty, our maintenance men, our parents, our grandparents, everyone, the town as a whole. We were elected to do a job. We weren't elected to not to necessarily all like each other, but that's irrelevant. We were elected to do a job. I'm reaching out to all of you. I think there's so much potential. I think we all have so much energy. Right now, there's so many things on our plate that hopefully we can start to get organized. And I'd like to see us really try to use that energy instead of against each other, each of us with our own values and visions, and let's put them all in a pot and make something good out of it. I think we can make the district dynamic. I'd love to see us have a community roundtable, and a community roundtable with administrators and with department chairs and with PTOs and with the football coaches and with the band parents. And where can we go? What can we do? How can we make Bogota dynamic? What's lacking? What could give us spark? What could it be that they'd say, wow, Bogota is something else again? And we're doing that in so many ways, but I think that we need to make it a full circle and bring it all together. We're due at this point in time to do we did 5 years ago, we did a long range plan, a strategic planning session, which school boards can help us come in and do. I don't know how productive it would be when we did it, of course, about 6 years ago. We met at the high school. We met as one group. We broke out into little work groups. People had ideas. They wrote everything all over the place. We combined ideas. But unfortunately, with all the changes that the district went through over these last 5 or 6 years, with between interim superintendents and changes and so forth, that little playbook, if you will, got sat on the side. That should be in the middle of our board table, whether it's a virtual board table or the real board table. And it should be our focus. It should be our goals. It should be our aim, where we aim and how we can do it. People will have new ideas. People will have old ideas. There's people in town that will be naysayers. You can't do that. We tried that, doesn't work. Let's not dismiss those thoughts. Let's take, why didn't it work? Maybe you pull those people in. Why didn't it work? How can you help us now make it work? How do we switch something around? How do we combine things? I just think there's so much that we can do for this town. And we all love Bogota. We all want to be here because we all love to volunteer and serve our community. So let's really invest ourselves in that and respect each other for that effort. I think you all have great ideas. I respect every single one of you. And I would just like to move forward. And as I said, I apologize for my shortcomings last week. It was wrong. And I hope to do much better. If someone has an issue with something I'm doing, please speak to me directly. Let's not use everybody's time to belabor things, which I now am beginning to belabor things. So I thank you all for listening to me as I vent on, sometimes too long. I like you all. I respect you all. And I really think we can do a lot of good together if we just give each other a chance. But that's my 2 cents. On that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion, Amanda.
Thank you very much. Second. Thank you all, everybody. I appreciate it. Than's for listening to me.
Good night.
And discussion. Wait, everybody in favor?
Oh.
Aye.
Yeah, I'm still talking. Good night, everybody. Thank you. See you next week. Stay well.
Good night.
Stay well.
Good night.
Goodbye.